All right, guys, welcome back to another Touchline podcast. If you're new here, hit the like button, hit subscribe, comment down below. Now, this podcast is a long time in the making. Yeah. Can you agree, Paddy?
I reckon 2 years, yeah.
2 years in the making. Now, we met Paddy. For those of you who don't know Paddy is the founder.
Founder of Save Leichhardt Oval.
The founder of Save Leichhardt Oval. We previously had Luke Brayley on. Now, Luke Brayley brought back Belmore Sports Ground. Paddy Tobin brought back Leichhardt Oval. So it's only right with Leichhardt's game upcoming this week against Parramatta to bring Paddy Tobin on. So I just got to say, so glad you could make it on today's podcast, and it's an honour to have you on, mate.
Thank you. The studio's amazing. I love all the, little mementos in the back here, but I'm glad I'm on.
Yeah, no, look, it's going to be a cracking pod. Again, a long time in the making. I think I met you through Luke. I'm pretty sure
Luke may have mentioned me and Luke. He was kind of the first guys I reached out to, or he reached out to me just to get some advice from him, because he was kind of, I think his story started in 2005.
Yeah,
so
that's
he was
right.
a
Pretty
young
early,
guy as well. And he gave me some advice and helped pave the way for Leichhardt as well.
Yeah, no,
still in contact with Luke?
Yeah. We're meant to be meeting up very soon. I think we want to start potential just saving suburban grounds.
Oh, man.
Together.
We'll get into that because I feel greatly about saving suburban grounds. But just to begin the podcast, I want to know about you, Paddy. I want to know about your backstory. Yeah. You know, where'd you grow up and, you know, that sort of stuff.
So weirdly born and bred in Wollongong.
Okay, yeah.
But moved to Leichhardt when I was about 7 or 6 and then just grew up there. Wasn't into sport much as a kid. And then Dad took me to my first rugby league game. He's a Dragons man, but he took me to a Leichhardt Oval game. 2012 round 1 against the Sharks. Benji Marshall hits it from 50 out. Bo Ryan scores 2 tries.
Yeah, that's right, Bo Ryan. Yeah,
25,000 packed at Leichhardt. You can't have 25k now because of safety issues. But and I was hooked. I played footy for Leichhardt Wanderers for 7-8 years or something like that. After that, and really Leichhardt Oval was kind of the introduction to NRL for me.
So it's like sort of that connection you have with them that again. We'll delve into it, but is the reason why you wanted to save the ground?
Basically, yeah, there's definitely an emotional appeal there. And you ask anyone there, like I go there now, and since I grew up in Leichhardt, you just see ex-footy coaches. You see, it's probably sometimes the same with you boys at Belmore. You just see all these people you haven't seen in ages, and it's all the emotional appeal to it, Yeah,
it's definitely like instilled in your DNA. You know, from birth, you know, from Wollongong to Leichhardt, and then, you know, if there's something about that suburban ground feeling that you don't get at any other stadium, and it's like you put it greatly, man. Like you remember your first Leichhardt Oval game, and it's like how many games can you remember from memory that would make that amount of impact in your life? Like, you know, it's like I remember going to Belmore Sports Ground for the first time, man.
In Melbourne.
It was Melbourne 2012.
Yeah,
that was it's always that first game. Now, I just want to talk about the actual movement. How did the movement start?
So round 3 last year, we beat Cronulla 36-6, I think it was, at Leichhardt, and we just went up. It was meant to be 50-0. We were at $11. And every year for the past 4 or 5 years, they go, Leichhardt's going to get shut down. Leichhardt's going to get shut down. It's a great Buzz Rothfield clickbait title, right? Leichhardt's going to get shut down. But this year was a bit different. It was like, it's actually going to get shut down because Richardson comes out and goes, nah, we don't want it. We don't want to play here. And it's not. It isn't up to standards. The canteen has got like a chain on it. The toilets are right out of a construction site. Like it's not up to 21st century standards. So I just looked around for a group. There wasn't one. I was like, I'll make one. And from there, it really rolled. It started off with people's stories about Leichhardt Oval, kind of the same one I just had that 2012 one, but their stories had much more. You know, my grandfather took me, and he passed away. We put his ashes there. You know, there's a real, again, emotional appeal to it, real connection to it. And then when that group started, I work at 2GB as well, the radio station. And when that started, my one of my producers, Michael Ponicello, who works for Ben Fordham, said, we might get you on if you get maybe 1,000 by the end of the week. I'm like, yeah, righto. Now we got to 3,000 by the end of the week, in the first week. Of just followers,
that's mad.
People's stories coming in, and then went on Fordo's show, and then that's when it really went,
Yeah, that's why it's important when you're trying to save something, you need to have a team that are motivated and have a connection with like or anything in regards to that. So
it's the power of the people, really, because, I mean, no one was going to give funding. Mins came out. Chris Mins, the state premier for New South Wales, came out saying, nah, we just don't have enough money for it. And everyone was like, in the interviews and everyone in the articles, like, their back's up against the wall. This could be the end of Leichhardt. And then after this momentous response and our work with Inner West Council, especially the mayor there, Darcy Byrne, really helped and got the $40 million for Leichhardt.
Now, how many people are in your organization? Like, how many members run Save the Leichhardt?
So there was a committee. My family friend Stephen Kelly has been on a lot of campaigns and was just like, you need to start up a committee. And on that committee, there's about 12 people. We met once a week once a week for 3 months and just sorted out what we're going to do, how we're going to do this, who are our key players to talk to and all in that. So those 12, which had Stephen Kelly, Stuart McLennan, and 10 other people on it. Liam Hayes really, really helped me.
For sure. You need a helping hand in that process. You can't. We heard Luke Brayley and the struggles he had, with trying to save, BSG.
Yeah.
Now, what was the hardest thing about bringing back Leichhardt Oval? Was it trying to get that funding? Like, throughout the whole process, like, what was the hardest thing?
The funding was always going to be the hardest thing. Getting people on board was actually very easy. In the group, you can go back with the stories. We've got people from New Zealand, north of England. We had one American saying, "I want to come to Leichhardt Oval."
Really?
Wow. It was on their bucket list. So the power of the people was really a smooth and easy thing, but just getting the funding wasn't. And all of a sudden, the news kind of broke. I think Peter V'landys, the NRL CEO, might have been a part of it, but I think they just listened to these people. Like Chris Minns joined our group.
Oh, well.
6 weeks in, when I met Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on the day, he said, "We've heard about your group and we were part of it and we love it." And of course, Leichhardt Oval's in Anthony Albanese's federal seat.
Yeah.
So that really helped us as well. But we originally got the $10 million from Inner West Council first, which really just started getting more money, and then state put in another 10 and federal put in 20 mil.
Did we look at Luke Brayley? Can't remember, but I'm pretty sure a few players were interested in helping to bring back to Belmont. Were there any sort of players that were keen to help this Save Leichhardt campaign?
Definitely all the old boys. Wayne Pearce, of course, Wayne Pearce Hill, Junior was really part of it. We did some media days with him. Steve Roach, Benny Elias, they were all with it. Really old players like Larry Korora from the 1980s. Players all over old Balmain Tigers players predominantly came out, but no, not really any current players. I remember at the time, Benji and Robbie Farah were questioned on it, but you could see that they'd been given a premeditated response.
Yeah.
But you could see it, and like Robbie Farah loved.
Yeah,
Leichhardt,
I remember there was before he left, there was an iconic photo of him on the hill, just sitting there looking at the.
Exactly.
So he'd have that connection as well as all the other fans. But again, speaking about that Sharks and Tigers game, last year where I think you won 32-6.
Yep.
It was an extraordinary atmosphere. But again, there was news that broke out that was it true that you had 90 days to find a solution before making that decision whether Leichhardt was going to be saved or not?
Yeah, definitely. We had a deadline, and Shane Richardson's Shane Richardson, CEO of West Tigers, has put the same deadline on Campbelltown now again this year.
Okay.
I heard about that one.
I don't know if it's this year or next year, but it's a June 30 deadline.
Yeah.
He's like, we're not going to get it, and it could be his way of negotiating to make the funding go quicker, or it could be his way of saying, hey, I'm trying to run a club here. I don't need this stuff in the background. But that kind of at the start we're like, oh gosh, now we've only got 90 days.
Yeah, so that probably took a toll.
It did take a toll, but it did quicken up the process. We doubled in numbers in members over those next few weeks. Yeah.
Now, like when you initially started the organization, how long was it until you got the 40 million?
It was about 3 months.
3 months.
March,
3 months.
So round 3 last year to June. It's June 17th last
wow.
year. So there you go.
Like quick turnaround. Put in perspective again. I know we're always bringing up Luke Brayley, but like you can compare the two. He spent how long trying to bring it back?
Many years,
Many years, and it's like to bring it back in 3 months, man. That's a pretty quick turnaround. Now, like, what needed to be changed in Leichhardt? Like, what needs to be changed? Like, you touched on it a bit in terms of the locker rooms and stuff like that. What needed to be changed, or what needs to be changed in Leichhardt Oval to bring it back into its prime self?
Yeah. Well, it's stuck in the 20th century, as I said before. But you talk about the locker rooms there, and especially the female locker rooms. Now, most Sydney FC women's play there. They actually get a crowd there that sometimes beats the Sydney FC men's at Allianz.
Oh, wow.
They love Leichhardt. They've played at Cogra before. They played at Allianz before. But when they go to Leichhardt, they've got that community appeal. And I've been to a couple of games there. I'm not much of a football fan, but it was like any other game at Leichhardt. Like, it was really good. And then we've also got all these other junior games. So we really needed to bring it back into this 21st century kind of thing. The women's locker rooms, I don't even think they existed at that point. We hadn't got funding for 50 odd years, adequate funding for 50 odd years. The chairs on the concourse are actually recycled chairs from the SCG from 2012.
Wow.
So that's how, it's a second rate, it's like a hand-me-down kind of stadium.
Yeah.
And this 40 mil will get new change rooms. It'll build a southern grandstand, which will help.
You said it took 3 months to receive the full funding for Save Leichhardt. Was there a period during that 3 months where you said this is not going to happen and it's impossible to save Leichhardt?
Definitely when Chris Minns came out and said no. I hadn't seen a politician. Normally they have those, premeditated responses where it's like, oh, maybe, but he just said flat out, nah. And then Albanese said no. So we knew we were up against a fight, and but I still had that power of the people behind me.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 8,000 people behind me.
Yeah.
So how can they not say no?
Yeah, I mean, it's the power of the people. If you get numbers in anything, you're bound to make a change. Yeah, so, like, why did he say no initially? But
I think at that time there was, because it's the same thing happening with Campbelltown right now. If you're not a sport lover, you don't give a rat's ass about stadiums. You don't. You go straight to, what about the hospitals? What about schools? What about our floods? What about that? And I think at that time there was some flooding going around, or a drought going around. So it wasn't good timing, but it was also, they have given a lot of money to stadiums. We built Allianz.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
And that was also a hard fight to fight against. But at the end of the day, it's for a person to go there on a Saturday to forget about life and have a drink. It's for their well-being. You know what I mean?
Have a beer or blackfish. That leads me to my next point about suburban grounds. Like, why do you think, why did Luke Brady fought, him and his team fought as much as they did to bring back BSG, and why did Paddy have to fight to bring back Leichhardt? Why does it have to be like that? Why do they get easy funding for Allianz Stadium or an Accor Stadium, but the suburban grounds where the heart lies, the heart and soul of rugby league is in those suburban grounds. So it baffles me how these politicians, I mean, now they're funding, and in terms of Leichhardt Oval, and then they funded Belmore Sports Ground, but it baffles me how it's not their priority. It's just I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
What do you think is that's the case?
I do think most of these suburban grounds are owned by councils. So you have to hire out the venue.
Okay.
Whereas the other grounds, like your Accor Stadium, since they're not used as much, the government wants them to get used, don't they? So I feel like you get more money if you go to Accor. Clubs do get more money if you go to Accor.
Yeah.
They do get more money, but I hate that as a statement, because so what, you get 20K at Accor, it looks like it's empty. You get 20K at Leichhardt.
Yeah,
it
right.
looks like
You hit the nail on the head, Paddy.
Yeah.
That was my next point. Okay, you get a lot of money. That is definitely a big factor. NRL's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But with these suburban grounds, it's what is it? What's Leichhardt Oval hold?
18.
18,000.
Belmore
Is
around the same?
probably 20. Maybe around 18,000.
You could say for these suburban grounds, even a Shark Park is kind of like a suburban ground, you could say. Anyways, so if you make these stadiums look like they're filling up to the brim, how does that make the NRL look?
Yeah.
I've always said it, from there we're trying to get into the Vegas market. We're trying to get into the US market. How does that look, to the US audience? NRL's a big
You
sport.
flick the channel and there's a packed house at the MCG. So with the AFL, but
AFL's always smashing.
AFL's a different sport, but then
we're
how
a
does
different sport? We're a suburban sport. We love the suburban nature of it, and I said this to a lot of people that what about Homebush? Are you saying the Tigers fans won't go to Homebush? I'm saying they would. But they'd rather pay $55 to stand on the hill at Leichhardt than $30 to stand in an empty stadium at Homebush.
And let's think about it. The
vibe.
atmosphere at smaller grounds is much better than a bigger stadium. And I think they should be thinking about fans as well, where 100% I'd spend every week to go to a Belmore game rather going to a Accor Stadium every week. It's just the culture. You're spending times with the fan. You're all connected. It's
a different vibe, man.
It's just going to a bigger stadium. Just save the bigger stadiums for a final
Friday
series.
clash.
That's a big one.
We have to. Sure. Definitely, you see us there.
For sure.
Just having a beer hits different at a suburban ground. You buy a beer at a core, it's overpriced anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a different vibe over there, and it's I it's great what you're doing in terms of bringing back these suburban grounds, because if no one's fighting for it, that will go away. You know, you know, the likes of Luke Brady, the BSG will go away, Leichhardt will go away. It's just it's definitely something that people need to do more of. You know, when there's something you feel passionate about, it's just something that just needs to happen. Now, like, in terms of the Leichhardt, what do you got over there, Paddy?
So we had these on the Friday before the Saturday clash against Gold Coast. We had these made because at that point West Tigers weren't going to contractually say that they were obligated to play at Leichhardt. So we made these signs, which was shown up at the 8th minute for the 8th wonder of the world, to kind of say, hey, everyone, hey, Tigers, look at everyone holding up these signs showing their love for Leichhardt.
That's great.
You do your role, which they ended up doing. So, yeah.
Well, now I want to speak. You mentioned about how Campbelltown's now gone through the same sort of thing, what Leichhardt's going. So is Leichhardt now, as I know they're going through a redevelopment stage, is that going to be used for, you know, every NRL game for the Tigers? Where's the Tigers heading in regards to their home grounds? Is it going to be Leichhardt, Campbelltown?
So we'll have 3 home games this year, 3 home games next year, and then we're hoping to start redevelopment at the end of 2026.
Okay.
And then from that on, it's Shane Richardson's plan to move it elsewhere, I think we will have at least stick to 4 or 5 games at Leichhardt. We'll be happy with 4, ecstatic with 6. 3 games is just not enough, and I know I'm saying that to you. 1 game at Belmore.
That's what I was saying. We get 1 game.
Is the parking an issue at?
Parking's horrible there.
It's horrible.
It's just really like Belmore.
But you do have the light rail station there, and you do have. We got involved with a lot of Balmain businesses, and one of the Balmain pubs has said, 10% of my profits actually come from Leichhardt Oval games. Because everyone just streamlines down Darling Street, goes up to Balmain, and drinks either their sorrows or their winnings.
More their sorrows.
Sorrows.
They're going back up. Don't.
Yeah, now, again, Campbelltown, Leichhardt, what's now the redevelopment going to consist of? What are they changing? What are the new things, the new things they're adding into a new gym? Like, can you explain in detail what's happening with Leichhardt?
So definitely the first thing is new female change rooms. Yeah. Definitely adequate female change rooms. I think there was a story a couple of years ago where a female ref had to get changed in the men's change rooms. It's just that bad there. And then definitely just facilities overall, hospitality, and toilet facility. I don't know if you've been to the toilet there, but it is literally Portaloos. It's pretty bad. And then a whole new southern stand, which will increase it from 18,000 to 20,000.
Okay.
At Leichhardt Oval, and then the concourse seating might get a little upgrade. They don't really know yet, but the council, it's a council job, so the council are getting it all done. And since it's a council-owned job, they're actually going to. Darcy Byrne's major idea is to change it into also an adequate concert facility, so that you can have a concert there, but also more of a facility that guys can I don't know if you know Henson Park in Newtown, but you can walk your dog around there. You can have your events there, and I think that's what it's going to happen.
Is it going to be available? Because I know Brookvale is available for the public.
Yeah, Leichhardt is already available to the public. I think from a certain time to a certain time, but I think once this is done, more of it will be available, and even more exciting, which is included into the budget, is I'm part of a committee for the Inner West Rugby League Museum, which is just going to be built out the front of Leichhardt, where Wayne Pearce actually used to live as a kid.
Oh, well.
Nice.
And on that committee, you've got everyone from Steve Blocker-Roach to Gary Jack to the CEOs of Newtown Jets and Annandale. And in that budget, we're going to create a whole museum of Inner West Rugby League.
Okay, nice.
Which was where technically rugby league was built in New South Wales.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, look. Go on.
The Wayne Pearce stand, is that still going to be?
Wayne Pearce stand is so there's the Keith Barnes stand, which is heritage listed, and the Wayne Pearce Hill is heritage listed.
Oh, beautiful. You know what? I was going to say, because they're getting rid of the
redevelopment.
No,
I don't know. What do we call it?
Scoreboard in Belmore Stadium. I'm not sure what that famous. It's a famous.
Is that Peter Moore?
Peter Moore, Steve Moore.
Yeah, one of them.
You can tell we're not doggies fans. But yeah, they're getting rid of that because they're adding the Center of Excellence over there. Yeah. So it's great that was my question. Good, it's great that they heritage listed it, because that's the sort of thing that makes the ground. Yeah. Without it, it's just a normal oval.
Exactly.
But it's just that sort of thing needs to stay in terms of even just the manual scoreboard. I wish we had that. I still had that.
We don't have that anymore.
We have the
No,
big
we
screen.
have the
It
big screen.
is really good fun because anytime Tigers do score at Leichhardt, I know it's less times, but sometimes and everyone puts their hands up,
Yeah.
and then the guy behind it, I've forgotten the name of, he's a great character, and he puts in. Sometimes when we're losing by 40-0, he puts in the wrong score. He puts by 40. So it is a really good. It brings that ambience.
Yeah,
really
100%.
to it, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do Tigers have a good winning rate
Like
over at
Leichhardt?
Leichhardt?
Yeah, we do. We
Yeah.
do. I remember our last 7, we've won 5, but I remember the last stat I used to have in my head was out of the past 13, we had won 9.
Yeah.
And this was when 3 wooden spoons in a row. But the other thing is, forget about the scores and everything. Leichhardt was sold out every game for
Yeah.
the past 6 or 7, 8 years.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if it's the club doing that or if it's the Oval, but let's be all honest, we've been crap for the past 12 years.
Yeah, it's
And
Yeah.
yet we get it sold out every time.
Oh.
So is this your first game next week against Sharks
Yeah,
for the?
this will be our
This week, yeah.
first.
No, this week's comeback.
My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next week.
This will be our first game this year. Yeah, yes.
Just one game this year at Leichhardt,
no,
or
2 more.
two more?
20th of July against Gold Coast, and then 24th of August against North Queensland Cowboys. Both Sunday arvo.
Now, I want to
nice.
shoot a question. We like to talk. I mean, with the doggies on many podcasts, we talk about like how the culture's back and how going to these Belmore games brings
Yep.
back the cultures and sort of just the whole vibe around the club. Now, with the Tigers on trajectory now, do you feel like bringing Leichhardt now, especially now with the funding and stuff, do you think it enhances the team?
I think it will. Yeah, definitely. I think this Monday's game against Parramatta is our home game, which
Yes.
is
Yeah,
just
that's right.
ridiculous.
At
in its
Combank,
own
yeah,
right,
is it? Yeah.
It's at Combank, which I get. It makes sense. Again, probably a business call, but that just loses one of your home games. You play that game at Leichhardt, and we start with 10 points before
Yeah.
your clock starts.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Exactly,
yeah.
like-
And that's my point too, especially with the fans too. Like with that culture coming back with the Tigers, and like with you guys winning games and actually getting over the line now. I feel like it does enhance the game. It enhances their game, the way they play the game,
Definitely.
and enhances the fan experience. Imagine being that 5-year-old kid.
yeah.
Going to a suburban ground like Leichhardt, and with the Tigers winning. That's going to be a pretty memorable
even-
game.
And you
So-
got Benji Marshall, Robbie Farrell working together, so they'll install something within the place to know how important this game is at Leichhardt.
And I don't think those same 5-year-old kids having those same experiences at a core stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
you're
man.
Oh, we've
It's-
got to catch a train home. Get off at Lidcombe.
it's-
Okay, now we got to. Yeah, it's like just.
No, 100%.
It's like the famous walk to the stadiums. Like I know Belmore, we park at Canterbury Leagues.
Yep.
We
I've
walk
done
all
that
like
walk.
10
Yeah,
minutes
yeah.
to Belmore.
It's a whole
and it's probably
game
the
day
same
experience.
as Leichhardt.
It's a game day experience.
Yeah, it's just more than the game. It's about everything before the game, the atmosphere, the people, the community. And again, that's why, again, it's importance of, keeping these suburban grounds. I've never been to Brookvale Oval, but I can see how much that ground means to the Manly Sea Eagles. And it's an important thing.
What
to
about
have.
in terms of bringing back Leichhardt over in your committee? Like we touched on it with Luke Brayley and how the pushback with the Bulldogs board members and stuff
Oh,
like that. Was that ever an issue with you guys?
Whether was the club
With
us?
the actual club, were they with you throughout the
I don't
process?
think they were ever with us. But again, it was a business thing, and by that point, I'll be honest. At the start, it was all about West Tigers, but then you really delved into Leichhardt Oval. It's the most used suburban stadium in New South Wales, whether that be with rep sides, NRLW, West Tigers play there, Sydney FC Women's play there. So by the end of it, we didn't care about Tigers.
Yeah.
We knew the funding was going to come. We knew they were going to and be a part of it. They can't get rid of Leichhardt.
Yeah.
They know they'll get
At the
crap
point,
for
it was just the stadium you're worried about, not about Tigers and everything.
Yeah.
It was just about keeping
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
It's
ground
just that oval. And it's crazy how old are you, Paddy?
20.
20
Wow.
years old.
Wow.
So you started this, 19?
19, yeah.
19 years old.
That's
This guy brought back
incredible. That's
Leichhardt.
impressive. That's very. Yeah.
I think
Like-
they should have a statue of you in front of the stadium.
But honestly,
No,
that's so
that's
admirable,
incredible,
man.
yeah. Nah,
Like
it is.
bring him back over at 19 years old, man. Like, bro, when I was 19, man, I was getting pissed at the pub, bro.
I'm still doing that. But my mates, they'll go, oh, he's going on about Leichhardt.
Yeah, man,
But
it's-
what does it mean for you to be the person with your team to save Leichhardt? Like the team you've been brought up watching, you were the one that kept it sustainable and kept it for the fans as well.
Yeah, I am honoured to be a part of it, but I won't say that I am the one. It was really, if I didn't have those 8,000 people with me, there's no way I would be able to, or we wouldn't be able to get done.
Now, in terms of the 8,000 people, were they like petitioning hard online? Like, were they like,
So-
what were they doing to bring back Leichhardt?
Yeah, it first started as a private group where people can just show their mementos and share that, and that's what really grew it. If you go past through the group, I was just going through it now, and there's stories of, as I was saying before, people spreading their ashes. There's a guy who had a tiger tattooed on his back of his head, and then the Wayne Pierce scoreboard down here.
Wow. No, he got that tatted,
Yeah,
didn't he?
He's
Wow.
a tatted man, well tatted, better tatted than Addo Carr. And that was a really hard start. And then I switched it to a public group, and then they just kept growing it. You know, every post I'd put up there, it'd be 20,000 people have seen this because they'd share it around, they'd fight it out. We didn't really have a petition. Darcy Byrne did do a petition on his own for Inner West Council, but I don't think that really got it over the line at all. It definitely helped the process, but I just think, you know, if you're Chris Minns or Anthony Albanese standing looking at 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 members, you're like, crap.
Yeah,
Need to get this
You're
done.
right.
Now, when you got the initial funding, what was your reaction?
It was so we got the it was really just like, oh my gosh, you know, like just crazy. But I did a speech at Inner West Council where they were going to give 10 mil. The first 10 mil came from Inner West Council. I did a speech, and that really rallied up the troops, and we got the 10 mil for that. And then 4 or 5 days later was when the news started spiraling out that Chris Minns had put in an extra 10, and Albanese put in an extra 20, and it was
Everyone's
really
buying into it now.
yeah,
Like,
it was a really good. And then we had the day at Leichhardt where Anthony Albanese was there, Blocko Roach, Wayne Pierce, Sydney FC. Everyone was there. We're doing photo ops, and I'm there talking to Albo.
Yeah, wow.
About South Sydney last week. You know?
No, that's definitely massive. Like, yeah, but it's very admirable, like what you did for Leichhardt Oval, and like, yeah, I couldn't think of another thing in NRL, you know, that hits as big as, you know, like you bringing back Leichhardt or like Luke Brady bringing back BSG. It's like it's you always got to fight for your shit at the end of the day. And in terms of like, I want to touch on it. We touched on it at the beginning of the pod. Luke Brady. Now he was you could say like a mentor type of way. Like you're getting advice from him.
I was texting him every time. Hey mate, what do I do here? And he gave advice, I think, on this podcast actually. Which was just great. And like, yeah, just say stick in it. You know yourself. You know, he'd been through the exact same thing. So I was just like, I'll take that advice. And yeah, it really was good.
Does the club now, I know this with, again, Luke Brady, the club, you know, here and there, I don't think they really give him like, you know, free tickets to come watch a game. If there's a big event, for example, it was
So like
it was like the 80 celebration. He didn't get invited to the Belmore game this year. Does the Tigers, do the boards treat you like that? Do they give you?
No, I just think it's good work. We won meeting kind of partnership, and then that's about it. I don't expect much from them.
So you're saying it in a humble way. So so you're saying they don't give you jack.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, man. Wow.
But I don't think I'd expect any. I think maybe one like they'd be like, my mates be like, oh, sure you get invited up to the box. I'm like, I don't want to sit up in a box. I want to be down there with 30 of my mates on the hill and just watching the Tigers play or watching Sydney FC women's play and looking at Leichhardt's atmosphere be the best it is.
You know the best thing. You know what I love about you and Luke. You're very humble about it. Because if that was me, man, I'm ripping shreds. Like, bro, like.
I feel they appreciate the
to not invite someone like Luke and Paddy to an oval where they, you know, where they brought it back. You know what I mean? It's baffling again to me. Like, how do you not respect? I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying anything right now, but I'm very passionate about things, these sort of things, man. And it's like when I heard about it with Luke, I'm like, it's remove the game. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Someone brings something back. They fought hard for it, and they're the reason why you're at that stadium right now. So like for you not to respect someone who brought back an oval, I don't know. I get a certain way about it, and I know you're trying to stay humble about it, but yeah, it's just I don't know, man. It's a bit of disrespect. It's all about respect, man. It's just you wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be playing there. You wouldn't be making money off these food trucks if you didn't bring it back.
Yeah, like
so
as Paddy said, like. You would rather watch it with your mates and all the fans. And again, at the end of the day, you got what you wanted, and that was to bring Leichhardt back.
That is the sole purpose, anyways.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice.
It'd be nice, of course.
Yeah,
it
it
would
would
be
be
nice. It would be great
Yeah.
to see all of them and be great to. But it just didn't happen, unfortunately. But again, really don't give a rat's ass.
Nah, yeah, I get you. Maybe that's how we actually feel. Maybe it's just my Lebo instincts inside of me, man. I just get amped up about it.
Yeah, well, look, you saved Leichhardt, you're a Tigers fan. It wouldn't be right if we don't talk about the Tigers a bit. How do you see them going this year? Like, already they've started, exceptional well.
Yeah.
It's 4 wins, 2 losses. Like, it's been a fantastic start.
It has been. If you asked me 2 days ago, I'd be really over the moon.
Yeah.
Over the past 2 days and even this afternoon, it's just been a bit classic Tigers, always on the
Yeah,
front
yeah.
page, never on the back page. So, yeah, if you asked me 2 days ago, great, really good. But today's news.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Thoughts on that?
Lockie Galvin, man. What's happening with this guy? Like, he got offered, what, a $5 million contract, denied it, wants to go somewhere else.
$1 million a year. So, Lockie Galvin's agent is the amazing Isaac Moses.
Yeah.
He's just amazing at bringing the game together. No. And $1 million a year we offered him, it looked like they didn't even want to look at the offer.
Yeah.
They don't want anything to do with us. The club that gave him his first go. He was on $5,000 at Para, and we took him, gave him his first go. Not only that, we let him roam and play really, really his own kind of football underneath a 4-time premiership winner in Jerome Luai. And for now him to just scrap that off,
Yeah,
I don't know.
the way I see it, I think Galvin, he's been given, now it's been called out that apparently he doesn't see Benji as the one leading him to be the player. But Benji is the one that has given him the chance. Benji has now given him the tools with Luai, with all the signings they've got, to become the player you want to be, offer him a good contract. And for me, he's not worth that sort of money. He's actually lucky he's getting $1 million a season. And for him to just reject it and think he's better and deserves more, I think that's just a big ego problem.
Yeah,
right
we're
there.
talking about Benji Marshall, like one of the best sixers in the game, won a premiership with the Tigers. You're saying this guy can't bring the best out of you.
Yeah, it really stunned me watching the news unfold, because you get those clickbait articles from the Telegraph and you go, righto.
Yeah.
And then the statement came out and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
it's true. And then what I really like is that Benji's dropped him for Easter Monday.
Yeah.
And now I've read up on it. Apparently, Luai, Coruscant, Terrell May, the leadership team came up to Benji and said, hey, if he doesn't want to play for us, he
Luai
doesn't
even
wanna play for
posted
us.
something to
Luai
that on
did
story.
post,
Team first.
Team first, yeah.
And again, they come from winning culture. So
Exactly.
if you're seeing a player like at his age being selfish, wanting to do what he wants, they're not going to accept that. Especially Luai, out of all of them, he's won 4 premierships. He knows what it is to be a leader. He knows what a good player is. And again, I think it's the right decision. Benji's took him out. I don't think we'll see him in a Tigers probably jersey. If the players don't want him in, might be the last
He's
time.
done. Nah, I reckon
think so.
they dropped him this week.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
could leave next year possibly.
He could.
Yeah.
Could. I don't like. I do think. I was a bit upset when the news came out, and then Easter Monday, and I was like, he's going to get booed. Now I hate when an own team boos his own player. We
I
nearly
agree.
saw it a couple of weeks ago, Cherry Evans, but thank God that the Manly faithful didn't. I did, because I've been booing Cherry Evans since I was 6 years old.
Haven't we all?
Exactly. But I don't want any hate against Lockie, but I think he needs to know that the decision he's made is
the wrong one.
Really the wrong one.
It's a pretty selfish.
It's a really
selfish
wrong
Where do you
decision.
think he'll join? I personally think he'll go Para.
Para, yep. I mean, Cherry Evans, if he's going, can he Manly with
I've been hearing
Dogs?
Yeah, Gus has-
Yeah.
Gus is a
has
massive
been-
fan of him, but
Gus is
he
massive.
he
closed
did
it down.
say recently he's not worth $1 million. So for him to say that and then possibly sign him more than $1 million, I don't reckon we'll get him.
No, he's definitely like he'd land at a club and someone will use his services. I mean, if his services are going to be good or not, that's a whole
That's the other
different
thing.
question.
Right now, he's not known as the star player. We've got Luai, Coruscant to
Terrell
fill
May's
that
crazy.
role. Terrell May to
He's-
fill those roles of a star player. So some things that Lockie Galvin might do are crap. We don't actually see it. But the things we do that he does good is only because he gets the ball half the time Luai gets the ball.
Yeah.
So for him to go to another club on this big whatever he wants contract, he has to be the star player. Is he ready for
Could
that at
affect
20
him.
years old?
Yeah.
Do you remember a 20-year-old in Luke Brooks?
And it's not
getting
great.
that same stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like,
It's not Greener always on the other side. And like
No.
you said, they've given him that freedom to play the way he wants. Now, when he goes to another club, he may be restricted a bit.
yeah.
So, I don't know. Lachlan Galvin, it's probably a big mistake, but that's his career.
Well-
we wish him all the best.
Backtracking back to Leichhardt Oval, I want to touch on this. You got a game there next week.
Yep.
Tigers, Sharks.
Yep.
What are you expecting over at that game next week?
I expect to win. I really do. Nico Hines didn't know how to play there with that atmosphere last year, and I don't think he'll know how to play there this year with that atmosphere. And I last year I was going into it as 50-0 that's going to be it. But
It's the opposite this year.
This year, I'm there for 2. We're finally playing 70-minute football.
You're playing amazing football.
it's
That
very
definitely.
entertaining.
Even
Like, it's
in our
very good.
losses, we're playing 70-minute football. And who cares if Lockie Galvin has done a John Cena heel turn? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're there to play good footy. And even in our losses in the past 3 weeks, our 2 losses, we played 70 minutes of football. I was happy with those losses.
Yeah.
Even in the first round, you versus Knights, that first stuff when they walk into the sheds, how the fans were just supporting the players. I got connected to that, and it's just good to see Tigers where they are
Well,
now.
that's the
definitely.
same thing with the Dogs. Like
Yeah.
you guys have been through the same, not as bad, but you guys have been. There was a couple of years there where there was just nothing going on.
Nothing.
There.
No.
Nothing.
We've been in the same boat.
Yeah.
Us,
Yeah.
Tigers, and Dragons.
Yeah.
Dragons,
For how many years now?
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual the stadium, the atmosphere next week, what are you expecting over? You expecting a sellout? What are you expecting over there? Is it
Tickets already selling out
It'll
fast,
be a
so
sellout.
yeah, it'd definitely be a sellout. Especially since I know when we were losing, the games got sold out in the day. This game will be sold out probably in the next few days.
especially now when Tigers are doing good?
And Easter Monday will be the big. If we win Easter Monday, it'll be sold out by Easter Monday.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
Incredible.
Maybe we should get some tickets.
Now, another thing in terms of we heard with Belmore Sports Ground, when a Bulldogs game is happening there, all the businesses flourish.
Yeah.
They do amazing because everyone's going to Jabel's Cafe, ordering coffees, drinks, food, whatnot. In terms of Leichhardt, how other businesses, what's happening over there in terms of businesses, and when a Leichhardt game is happening over there, is there a figure that determines how good they're doing in terms of
There's
when
not
a Tigers
figure,
game is?
but as I was saying before, the Balmain pubs. So on Darling Street, there's a list of Balmain pubs: Sackville, Dick's, Workers, Unity, Cricketers Arms. These pubs that have been there since the 50s and 60s. And they came up to me when we were going to reach out to them, and they did say, a small percentage, but 10% of their profits do come from Leichhardt Oval games. So they were kind of in the fight with me because, they were going to join, but the campaign just successful too quick. But they were going to join because they were like, this is actually going against my business, I'm going to lose money from no games being played here.
Yeah, it definitely, and it's definitely, we touched on it with Luke Brayley about how it brought business to the Belmore area, and I could only imagine what it brings to the Leichhardt area.
Well, especially business, everyone talks about Sydney's nightlife and how bad it is, but, I saw when Belmore this year with the DJ bloke out the front.
Yeah, that was crazy.
DJ Nems.
Exactly, there you go. And you see that atmosphere that you don't normally get in Sydney, which is horrible in its own right, but you get it at these kind of games. You get it at Cogra, you get it at Brookie, you get it at Shark Park. Cronulla Leagues is always packed after a Sharks game. And it's events like these that bring back Sydney nightlife. So what, you're going to go to Homebush and then catch the train?
That's
home?
it. That's
Like-
what happens.
Honestly,
You go to the game,
Exactly.
you're off home.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're
with
right.
Belmore, you got after the game. There's so many streets, restaurants. You can just hang out. Even I know Combank isn't a suburban ground, but still, there's
Combank is there.
that whole street. They've got so much businesses. I was at Belmore the other night, and then he owns an ice cream shop. He even goes, "I love when Bulldogs play because my business goes up."
I'm telling you,
He's
you've
80,
been
Chinese.
making $1 the whole week.
yeah.
If doggies are playing the next week or Tigers in Leichhardt, you're making $1 million that week.
Exactly.
Well, what are the advice you'd give to anyone else who's in your position who might want to save a ground? What is an advice you'd give them?
Stick with what you know. Stick with what you know, and also surround yourself with friends. Don't look at the articles that say this isn't going to happen. Don't look at the commentators that say this isn't going to happen. If you stick with the friends and those that actually matter to you and those who are passionate with you, you'll get a lot done.
Yeah.
Not just an oval, you can get a lot done.
Now you mentioned the newspapers and all that. Was there any part when you'd be reading newspapers or articles or NRL 360 talk about Leichhardt? What was going in your head when you'd see them, whether they're agreeing with it, disagreeing with it? What was going through your head?
Well, most of the Channel 9 guys are all right, but Brent Reid from The Telegraph has lamented the fact that he put in 21 worst and best grounds in New South Wales. And Leichhardt's always his last. He said, why should we save this oval, this and that? And my point to him was, piss off.
Definitely.
Full stop.
I don't know who Reedy goes for or who, there was a couple other people like that, but their things were there's no cushions on the chairs, and my hot dog was You know, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, mate, that's why you go to Allianz.
Yeah.
You sit in the box seat, all right?
Nah,
This
they-
is real suburban ground. This is where people put their money in and they want to go and have a fun time with their community. And apparently you don't have that community with you, so piss off.
yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely.
Well
will.
said,
So
well
when does
said.
the new development of Leichhardt finish and they're ready to play there again?
It should be getting redeveloped at the end of 2026. Whether or not I think 2027 that we won't play there that season,
Okay.
and then hopefully by 2028 it will be done.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
it'll be a
honestly,
while.
that is perfect timing because Tigers,
Could be.
Yeah.
watch
Premiership
2028 up
Yeah.
until then.
Could
They,
be there.
who knows?
Could
Maybe
be
they
there.
won a premiership by then.
I don't want to
knows?
get my hopes up. too
Hey,
high.
hey, hey! The last time I got my
Tigers.
last time I got my hopes up, I lost $1,000. That was last
It's
year.
in this article, right?
It's in that article.
there you go.
But anyways, on that note, any last words, Paddy, you wanted to say to our audience?
Just honestly, support suburban grounds.
Yeah.
If you want to go to suburban ground, not even if you're only a Manly fan, these posters that we're selling, but these posters have gone across the world. I've sold it to that one American.
Okay.
American, yeah.
So
Where,
like
where
a-
can we find them?
They're just on the page Save Leichhardt Oval Facebook group. If you do want a piece of but there are a limited edition. There are only a little bit left. But that there just shows you that it's not just about Tigers fans. I've been to Brookvale Oval. I've been to Belmore when it's not Tigers, and I love it
Yeah.
because I just love suburban ground. So I really reckon if you're not doing anything this weekend, if you're not doing anything next weekend, rather come down to Leichhardt and I'll show you a real community.
He's talking to us
Yeah.
because we've never been to
We're down-
Leichhardt Oval.
never been?
Never
Nah,
been.
I've been to
never.
Belmore 3 times. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I reckon
you
we'll
know,
go
I've
next
always had a soft spot for West Tigers.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I've
I think
always
this is
liked
my segue to,
Yeah.
maybe being a Tigers fan. No, I'm joking.
Nah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. But look, all Paddy's links will be in the description, guys. All his socials will be in the description too. So make sure you go follow him there. But on that note, Paddy, appreciate you coming on tonight's podcast. Honestly, final note on me. What you've done for Leichhardt Oval, really admirable, man. And like for someone at 19 years of age to do what you did in your committee, your committee, yeah, only utmost respect for you, mate.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's been a really good talk about.
Nah, it was a
time,
great
no, it's
podcast.
lovely.
Guys, if you're new here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and comment down below. And other than that, it's been the Touchline and Paddy, and we are out. See you later.
See you, boys.